Bounty Hunters. Life on the blockchain.
Life on the blockchain. Welcome back to Bounty Hunters. This is your host, Big Riptide. And we have, again, our first sponsor. Big shout out to Recon. You can learn more at getrecon.xyz/riptide. They offer high quality Solidity audits powered by invariant testing. Having worked with leading projects such as Centrifuge, Liquidity, and Badger, they also have a ton of useful resources for bounty hunters and protocol devs. And as I was saying in the prior episode, I like that you can fuzz test right from the GitHub. Check them out at getrecon.xyz/riptide, and you'll get $5,000 off for the first-time customers for an invariant testing engagement. All right, my guest today is 0xsimao. Is that how I say it?
Yeah, I guess literally it is how you say it. So.
Also known as the human fuzzer. Is this true?
Well, I'd like to think so, but I don't think it's always true. To be
Dude,
honest.
that's a good flex. Introduce yourself to ladies. Baby, I'm the human fuzzer. So, hey, I was referred to you from Mackenzie with ImmuneFi. He said you were a based ultra giga chad. So, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's really nice to be here. That's really cool. Like I finally get an opportunity to introduce myself to the community. So, and I think this is a great place to do so. So yeah, really excited.
Definitely. Hey, man, give us a little background, man. Anything you want to share, like how you got started. I saw you were at ThreeSigma, and then are you doing that with Blackthorn as well, or is that a kind of a new startup? Kind of give us a little breakdown of your past here and how you got into this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone gets into blockchain as a whole in very specific ways. It's not really a predefined path, But so in my case, I finished my aerospace engineering degree, and actually tried to do some work in the industry, but it's not really developed where I'm from in Portugal. So I'm like, yeah, well, this is not going to work out. So I turned to software. I worked like 4 months or something at a kind of product company. They were developing some enterprise software. But yeah, I gotta be honest, that was a bit boring.
Mm-hmm.
And then these guys from ThreeSigma, well, they had a friend in common with me, and they reached out to me. We talked a bit, and then they introduced me to the blockchain Solidity world, and I got basically addicted. I just tried to find out as much resources as possible, to try to learn as much as possible. I started by reading Mastering Ethereum, stuff like this, very theoretical stuff. Yeah, and then eventually, like the guys at ThreeSigma, they realized I was really interested in this, and so they took me in as an intern. Yeah, and then basically they were teaching me, and I was doing collaborating on audits too with them, and yeah, that's basically how it started. And at some point, I think 2 months in, I discovered like Code Arena, and I just spent most of my free time there. So
Oh, very cool. Everyone's so humble in this field. Humble rocket scientist here, just casually auditing some protocols. And so I should let the listeners know. So this is our second podcast with primary. I guess I would say you're primarily an auditor. You say you were trying to do some bug hunting, but no success yet, right?
yeah, I mean, I dedicated only maybe 1 week to it. So
Not
like
enough.
if I had success in 1 week, that would be pretty insane. But I think it's just I haven't dedicated a lot of time to it, So
Yeah, no, fair. And yeah, it's always the case. Don't dedicate any time to something. Don't expect any results.
exactly.
Yeah. So right now, so I brought Tigran on from Hexens on the last episode, and we were talking all about how kind of auditors look through things a bit differently than how bug hunters look at things. But
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of, because we share so many viewpoints, we share a lot of the same knowledge base, but it's just we do the job differently. Like how do you kind of view your role versus a bounty hunter in this industry?
Yeah. So this is actually something very funny because I started thinking a bit about this when I think it was White Hat Mage. I think
Love the
when he
mage.
yeah, exactly, when he found this 1 million bug, I think, bounty, and I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, what exactly should I do different to be able to get these kind of bounties and to do bug hunting. And to be honest, I think it boils down to the fact that, and this is something that he confirmed when I was talking to him, which is that as auditors, we don't assume any piece of code is correct. We think everything is wrong, and
Hmm.
we need to manually, often writing tests and stuff like that to verify that all code is correct, even if it doesn't really matter. So I guess the main difference is that we don't assume any happy path or something like this. We don't take any code for granted. And whenever I try to apply this to hunting, I just spend so much time on like useless stuff when I think I should be spending all my time trying to get to that attack path that people probably didn't look.
So,
Like
like, what do you mean? What's the useless stuff that you're wasting your time on?
like the useless stuff is that, for example, something that, for example, if a protocol has been live for, let's say, 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year, you just know, like, most flows, they work, right? Like, at least this is the conclusion that I got to, is that most flows, you have to assume they work. Like, I shouldn't lose time. Like, you make a deposit and you get a certain number of shares. Like, I shouldn't be trying to verify this is correct, because the protocol has been live for so much time. It would have come up by now. you know
That's a hell of an assumption that anyone would. My God, I mean, there's flaws in that. You know that.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, a deposit withdrawal. Yeah, because remember, everyone, 99% of people are interacting with the front end. So whatever the front end says is right, it could do front end rounding calculations.
yeah, yeah,
You'd be doing, whole number, 118 withdrawals. You just you know there's just so much nuance to
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, let me just get you a better example. Like, for example, when I audit, I always verify that the name of the variable that you pass to a function is the same argument that the function receives. You know, I manually verify this because this is a very common bug, unfortunately. Like, it happens all the time. Like, you pass a variable to a function in a wrong order. You know, and when I'm auditing, I need to manually verify all of this. But this is something that would just come up if people use a protocol like it. I think it's impossible for something like this to not come up.
Hmm. Nothing's impossible. Nothing's impossible. I think it's well when you it's I'm not going to say easier, but it is because I've done private audits, I've done private reviews. My hope that I'm going to find a bug when I do a private review before they go live is so much higher than when I bounty hunt,
Yeah,
because I'm like, these guys haven't gone live yet. They're coming to me to check for bugs. Obviously, I'm going to find something, and you always find something on those
yeah,
projects. But a bounty hunt, you could just spin your wheels because 3, 4 audit firms contest, everyone's looked at it, and you may just find nothing, and it gets super demoralizing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a little difference. Yeah.
So yeah, well, I mean, that's really cool to get to know different perspective on this. To be honest, because, like, I'm coming from a theoretical point of view. So
Yeah.
it's cool.
No, I think if you put more time into it, obviously you'll start finding bugs. We all share the same kind of knowledge base. I think it's just a big challenge is the mental thing. Just don't get frustrated not finding anything like you would with an audit, because
Yeah,
guys on the Discord, they talk about, or on X as well. What's his name? Sloth, Lonely Sloth,
Yeah, yeah.
was talking about, I think, not finding a bug. I want to say a year. It was 6 months or a year or something. It was some
Crazy, man.
crazy amount of time. But that's like what it is. Like you're just waiting and you're just looking, and you got to have some patience and some bankroll to kind of float you through
Exactly,
these
exactly.
times.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, I think now that I have a more solid, financial side of things, I think now I feel a bit more free to dedicate more time to bug hunting. Exactly because of what you just said. But when I was starting out, like, I just couldn't afford to stay 6 months with receiving
Yeah.
zero money. So that's absolutely true. So
Yeah. Not many can. Hey,
yeah,
I wanted to ask you. So, when I was talking on the last episode, I brought up some red flags that we kind of use for, like, well, I use as a bug hunter when I see projects and I try to screen projects, something like that. Um, I'll give you my list, and I want to hear your feedback on it this time. I forgot to ask Tigran for his. So, my red flags: if I see an audit, okay. So, if I see a protocol with follow up audits, so audit number 2 or 3, and they're all done by the same firm, big red flag. What do you think of that? Have you ever been in a spot where you have a protocol saying, hey, we want a second audit by you guys? Do you say, hey, get the fuck out of here? You need new eyeballs on it? Or do you say, yeah, I got to pay the rent?
um, well, yeah, actually, I don't think I've been in this position, to be honest. But, like, in my opinion, I mean, usually within the same firm, you have more than one team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of get around it, you know. But if it's the same team, yeah, definitely, maybe get some other eyeballs on that.
All right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good. But generally, yeah, I agree that is probably a good idea. Yeah.
All right. What about this one? So, this is one of the most common things I see is the old out of scope contracts.
Yeah.
Due to the time boxed audit, or this is another one where it's you're interacting, the protocol interacts with something else, and the audit team's like, oh, that's a black box. We're not even looking at. What do you think about that? Because that's very common,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that led me to a critical on Polymarket, the good old black box. No one pays attention to any external things sometimes. What are your thoughts on that from an auditor's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, like, from an auditor's perspective, I think most firms like actually do that. Like, they just flag it as out of scope, like an external dependency. And then whether the auditors actually look thoroughly in this external integration is entirely up to the firm. But it's not something that comes written down.
Yeah. Why is that? Is that just an easy way to cop out? Or is it like, hey, this is a business, this is what we're getting paid for, and
Yeah.
we're not lifting a finger more?
No, I think it's because of the second point. Yeah, I think, like, clients have this budget, they get quoted for audits, and everyone quotes them excluding the external integration, and it
Hmm.
it just gets a whole lot cheaper for them. If like, because it would be very expensive to have the auditors officially looking at the external integration, if that makes sense. But
Yeah. No, it
but I
does.
think any reasonable firm that actually tries to to be really to do really well security wise, I think the auditors absolutely need to look into external integrations with proper attention.
Hmm. All right. Next one. I never see audit firms doing this. Deployment scripts
Oh,
always seem to be not reviewed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is that true? Yeah.
That's very true. So basically, as an auditor, I do that. Uh, whenever, like, the clients, well, sometimes they ask us, like, it's never officially a task for us. So we do that either when we feel that it is interesting for some reason, or because the client asked us to do, but it's never officially a task. Like, you're not actually required. So for example, in contests, it's never in scope, right? Like, deployment
Right.
scripts are never in scope.
Good old in scope.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true. So
That's another
absolutely,
crazy one.
yeah, I think it's for example extremely relevant in upgrades. I think I've seen bugs more than once in upgrades where they they just send the wrong parameter or something. Yeah, it's common.
It's amazing how overlooked it is. And
Yeah, yeah.
well, hey, bug hunters listening, that's a place to look. Deployment scripts. All right, next one. Another great one. Unclean code. Just searching for to do or double check or any of those.
I don't know, man. Like, yeah, that's true, but couldn't I mean, if it's an actual critical and there's no way around it, yeah, of course, but couldn't protocols try to like not pay the bounty because it's a to do? Like, is this something that happens? I have no idea.
No. I look at it like as a symbol for lack of attention to detail. Like if you're going to go live, it's like deploying with console log.
Yeah,
Like you're not really looking at all the details. I just look at that as a potential weakness where there could be flaws elsewhere. Not always true at all. Could be rock solid, but you never know.
yeah.
All right.
That's
What about lack of tests?
yeah. I think yeah, I think that's a huge red flag, actually.
Is that pretty common when you get people coming up for audits? Do they just come up and like no test suite at all? Do they ask you to build it?
Like, it's common when the protocol is very small. When it's just a simple thing, they think they don't need tests. But what like in this case, I do the tests myself because I just don't trust myself enough to to do an audit without at least a decent testing suite.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, last one is if I see a high amount of higher critical bugs in their audit report, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's that's how, like, when I pick contests to do, it's one of the things I look at, especially when it's a conditional pot. Where if there are no highs, the pot is 100,000. If there are highs, it's 1 million.
Mm,
In this case, you gotta look into past audit reports to figure out if it's worth it. Because if there are highs and crits in past audit reports, then definitely there should be also currently. So yeah.
yeah, all right. So I'm on target. Do you have any red flags that you'd like to add that you could think of?
Red flag. Yeah, I mean, so for example, when, like, accounting, when the rounding is not consistent, when it's not always protecting the
Mm,
users and the protocol, that's a huge red flag for me. So,
hmm
like, if you find something rounding up in favor of a user instead of the protocol, most likely there could be an exploit related to rounding, because
hmm
when people do this, it's because they haven't put in enough attention. So
Rounding up versus rounding down,
yeah.
usually. Yeah. Okay, cool. I want to talk about one thing with the I found something. It actually remains one of my favorite audits to look at. It's from 2022, and this is like an auditor trail of bits, kind of dressing down the client, and the client was AnySwap, which I think is no longer around. I think the team is. I think they bounced. Something happened. They drained everything. Whatever. This is from 2022, and it was their implementation of a threshold signature scheme. And the audit is just riddled with findings. There's so many findings, and it's some serious cryptography. And they had this comment that Trailbit says the significant number of high severity issues discovered during our review are indicative of an immature code base that has room for improvement. These issues largely stem from incorrect protocol implementation and improper data validation. Several of these issues affect critical areas, and we suspect their similar issues are present elsewhere in the code base. And so that it's pretty spicy. But then they have another one from the cross-chain bridge audit with AnySwap. And they say a number of the issues identified during the audit result from a failure to adhere to cryptography best practices for off-chain applications. Others involve deficiencies in the documentation, error handling, data validation, and unit testing. In aggregate, these findings are indications of a codebase lacking in maturity and of a software development life cycle in which security was not prioritized. I mean, imagine the protocol getting that feedback like, fuck, man.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing. And
yeah,
when you go to an audit shop and you expect them to do all the work for you, I think is a wild kind of assumption. It just means I think you're lazy and you're going to get fucked in the future.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's something probably much more common than it should be, to be honest. Like, people just deposit so much hope that the audit firm can fix all their problems magically, you know.
Do you have
But
any stories from your time at ThreeSigma where you don't have to name any clients or anything, but just like some egregious examples of just protocols not taking security seriously?
yeah, I mean, more often than not, I was basically writing the code for them. Like, this is
How
because
many
I'm like,
times?
dude, because I'm like, well, if I just make the recommendation, they will probably just implemented it incorrectly, you know. So at some point, I was just writing code for them.
And they just took it, just copy
And
and
it,
pasted the new
yeah, she
function.
just took it. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Uh, but yeah, like most of these protocols, I was pretty convinced they were not even going to deploy, to be honest, when this happened, because they have this very usually this happens when they have a limited budget, unfortunately, you know. Uh, and with a limited budget, it's often very much the case that they just don't get to deploy because they run out of resources, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, I don't have any any feedback on these protocols that something went wrong. So, but yeah, some of them were in a very scary place. So,
Uh, and so you've done audits, formal audits, working for an audit company,
yeah.
and then you've also dominated the contests. What do you think about, like, if you're a protocol dev and you're about to go to market? Like, what do you think about the differences between those two avenues? And do you think one should come before the other? Like, getting their money's worth better on one versus the other? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they just fit different purposes. Like, you want to go with a firm to get that base coverage, you know, to make sure that you actually get two or three or four, I don't know how many experts looking at the code base, and you are guaranteed to have them looking at the code base. You have some legal protection on this, so that definitely, like, it's more of like you more or less know what exactly what you pay for. Although, of course, if you choose some firm that is not very honest in their audits,
Who would that be?
I don't want to, like, you know who I'm talking about,
Start
right?
with a C?
Yeah. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, but yeah, like, you at least you have some guarantee that you're going to get top auditors. But in contests, it's a bit more. You can get zero, right? You can, or one, or maybe something like this, top auditors, which is very bad. But you can also get like 10, you know.
Hmm.
and and like many of these participants in competitions, they're very talented, but they just don't have any. They haven't been around long enough, so they aren't known, but they provide a lot of value. So I guess that maybe, like, on average contests can be better, you know, on average. But as a protocol, you don't really want to play a lot with averages, so
Hmm.
you know, you have to pick wisely. But yeah, they fit different purposes, I'd say.
Like, if you were a dev, what would you do and you're about to deploy? Would you say, hey, I'm going to go 3 audits and then contest, and then private review? Like, what would you do
Yeah, I think I'd go with at least one private audit and then one contest. I think.
after the audit
Yeah.
firm?
Just so after the audit, you get the code. Uh, you get the code a little, because it's also different, because when you're when you're doing getting a private audit, you get much more feedback from the people doing the audit, so it's easier to implement fixes and stuff like this, get some feedback on the architecture. In contests, you don't get as much of this. They
Mhm.
just present the bugs usually. So
That's a
and
good point. Yeah.
so it's easier to but on the other hand, if you end with a firm, you also get more attention on the fixes, most likely. So it's really hard to say, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Yeah,
Yeah,
because you read an audit firm's reports and you get like, hey, they really dig into I mean, the good ones. They go through your whole protocol and say, hey, look, here's the design, here's what we think, here's what you can do better. Whereas a contest is just, I found a bug, I
yeah,
broke it, fixing it, I don't know, it's optional. Come up with something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So right now you're focused just straight on competitions, and then tell me, what is this Blackthorn thing?
So Blackthorn is like, so Sherlock has these top tier auditors in their leaderboard,
Mhm.
and they basically assembled a team which is called Blackthorn, and it consists of the top auditors. And basically, it's a way, like, okay, if you really want, as a protocol, if you really want to get that these 3 or 4 individuals in the leaderboard participate in the audit, you actually get them locked down for your code. You can do a Blackthorn audit.
Yeah, okay. No, I didn't. I had Jack on here from Sherlock. I didn't realize it was called Blackthorn, the thing that he was doing. Okay, so that's cool. So you guys are the top tier. Yeah.
Yeah, we try. We try.
No, that's good, man. Like, security in this space is just, it's so fascinating. Just on Twitter every day, just you never know what's going to come up, and it's always fun to just look at the exploits and just see what was missed, who missed it. Is this a new feature? Is this or a new bug pattern? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
How often do you kind of dive into the after action reviews and all these kind of things? Do you look at all the new bugs like that? Do you follow this?
Yeah, like, when basically as I think most security researchers do, I follow more or less what happens in the crypto Twitter space, and whenever there's an exploit, like, I try to find out if this bug is something that I've never looked into, and if it interests me, I take a kind of a deep dive to try to understand it. And and yeah, basically that's it, because, as you say, some of them are quite novel, right? So
Mm-hmm. That's true. Have you had any instances where something that you audited had an exploit?
well, not an exploit, but it has happened that, I think it has happened once, that one white hat actually found something after it was if after it was audited by me. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, at some point, like, you're auditing so many protocols. I mean, I try my best. I like to think that most people do, but, like, it's
It's
we're
impossible. Yeah,
humans.
everyone has flaws. Yeah, everyone is going to miss a bug at some point.
Like, what I try to do as best as possible, as I can, always, and that clears my mind.
And the thing is, like, this is another problem with the space. Is like, I did a private review one time, and yeah, I did my best on it, and I gave it back to the guy, and I thought everything's fine. And then he messages me, I think like a week later, and he says, "Hey, so we just got a report from another white hat. You missed, it was like an approval bug or something."
Yeah,
And my response is just like, hey, I don't know what to say, man. I try my best. Fuck, I'm sorry. I didn't apologize. I'm just like, hey, yeah, I missed that one. Because what do you say? It's like,
Yeah,
I
you can see
tried. I
most. Yeah,
mean,
like this time, it hadn't happened to me any time before, but I just tried to look at the fix. Tried to find out if everything was well fixed, and then I tried to see if there were related bugs, because if you miss this bug, there's a chance you miss the same bug in an unrelated place in the code base.
mm,
So I try to put some time into trying to at least mitigate what's left. So
so what would be your method? Like when you approach an audit versus a contest, are they different?
um actually, they weren't in the beginning, but I think they kind of need to be now, because um so devs and protocols, they really want that quick feedback. And when you're doing a private review, if the auditors stay silent for like a week, like the protocol is going to get stressed out. But and like my way of doing things actually takes more time, because I like to start with the basics before I dive into the very specific and complex things. So I try to cover as much simple bugs as possible, like correct arguments, precision, things like these decimals. I try to cover these easy things first. So and I don't dive right away into the complex bugs. So it means that it takes me a bit more time than the protocol devs want to get to these deep bugs. So I think, to be honest, I will change a bit my approach in private reviews to find those complex bugs first, because devs just love getting that early feedback. So
Hmm. And for people that are listening, this is what is referred to as speed running. When people say they're going to speed run a competition or whatever, these are these are security researchers who know a bunch of bugs in their head and they're looking for high level bugs, and they're going to scan a code base very quickly for any patterns that they're used to, this and that. But deep kind of bugs and interactions are separate from the old speed run. So if you ever see that, that's a guy trying to just, all right, here's what we got. Here's the low level stuff we could find.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
And so doing an audit versus a contest a little bit is a little bit different. And but for I asked Tigran this too. The longest you've been locked in for an audit, as an employee, you're paid to audit, was how long?
Um, I think it was like 6 weeks. I think.
Fuck, 6 weeks.
Yeah, because it was a Noir code base. You know, so they had the Solid implementation and they had the Noir implementation.
And was it interesting to you, or
Yeah, it
could you
was
not wait
actually.
to get off it?
Yeah, no, it was cool, because basically I spent half the time in the Solidity part and half in the Noir part.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but I find like this kind of ZK proving systems, they're very interesting. Like you just they just get you a proof, and you plug it in, and it magic. So
And what was involved with that? Like, did you have to pick
um
up new skills?
yeah, basically, so Noir was and still is pretty new, right? So there isn't much information. So when this happens, what I try to do is I also do a lot of tests, because yeah, I want to make sure, like, double check that everything is working correctly. And then I also spend a lot of time, like, actually trying to see all sorts of bugs that I must look for. Like this, it's a bit different than Solidity, which is very well known, right? But yeah, basically it's just that. I just need to test things more thoroughly.
Mm-hmm. Now, Noir, is that related to Aztec? Why am I thinking it's something to do with Aztec network?
I
Remember
think,
the privacy protocol that shut down because they're worried with the tornado situation? I should
yeah,
look
it's
this
it's
up.
it's Aztec. Yeah, exactly.
Aztec. So did they develop this? I don't
I
know.
think
I
so.
haven't looked into this that much.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Like, to be honest, by now I was expecting to be more noir stuff, but it's just what happened. I was also expecting that for fuel, but I'm still waiting.
And what's next? Move?
Yeah, I actually looked for the first time at moving this Zeta chain contest. You know, they have some move contracts. It's actually I like auditing Rust based languages. I think they're easier. Like the language itself is way more security wise. It's just I think it's better. Some
What do
things
you
just come out of the box.
what do you think has the most pitfalls? Solidity?
Yeah, Solidity. Yeah,
It's so
Solidity.
it's so awesome.
Yeah, Solidity is just it's just so fast to ship. That it becomes dangerous, but it's
Yeah.
very fast. Like,
Yeah. I think it's gotten crazy with the inheritance. I really despise that. Just trying to find out what
yeah,
what's calling what. It's really when you have like 50 contracts,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I saw the survey, the Solidity survey, and actually people prefer inheritance.
Well, they could always go to Viper, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I think inheritance is not so good also because of the super thing. Like, what the hell is it calling super? Like, you have to look at the order of inheritance to find out which, if you have more than two functions with the same, you can't just, if you write super, you have to check which one you're actually calling.
I
So,
know. I know. And so, all right. So we're going to go back since you're the auditor I'm going to still call you an auditor, even though you do contests until you find your first bug bounty, which no doubt will come as long as you keep at it.
I
So,
submitted one just before this interview, so
oh,
fingers
hey, nice, man. I hope it gets confirmed.
crossed.
So, all right. Why do auditors miss bugs? Why do you think?
um, like short answer, it's human nature,
Mm,
but long answer is that more often than not, they're just there isn't enough time. Like ideally, you'd audit for much longer, but due to constraints like budget, deployment, and stuff like this, it's you just can't spend as much time as a bug hunter looking at a specific part of the code base, if that makes sense. Because as a bug hunter, you you decide, okay, I'm going to focus this for doesn't matter how many days, right?
hmm
And you just stay there. But with protocols, it's not always possible. Right? So you try to do as best as you can within this audit window, and yeah, sometimes people miss bugs. So
I'm curious about the method of the audit firm. So the only one that I know of, and maybe a lot of them do this, is the Hexen's method because they actually put it on their audit reports that I've read, where they have a team
yeah,
doing it and then they give it to the other team. So you get like two internal teams
yeah,
doing
this
the.
is awesome.
I think it's pretty cool. Do you know other firms doing this? Like, did they do that at ThreeSigma?
Uh, no, we didn't. But I know that I think it's Pale Security that also does it. I think I
Fails.
saw a tweet.
Okay.
I think I saw a tweet about this. A post, right? About
Yeah.
this.
The only way I could see that model kind of breaking down is like if you get somebody with an ego, maybe like it's your boss or something, and you find this shit under him, and you just can't flex on him. So
Yeah,
I couldn't think of a scenario where you're gonna hide the bug. No, that wouldn't happen. But it seems
yeah. I
pretty good.
mean, that falls under the part where you must do a background check on the people you hire. Like if you want to hire people to participate in a team, they have to be able to know how to participate in a team.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And when you do your the audits, do you kind of like do you have to educate the devs that you work with, or do you find that most are competent? Are you just getting all types? Because anyone could pick up Solidity, start coding, get some money, and say, "Hey, we're going to deploy." Like, do you even know who the devs are sometimes?
yeah, when I'm doing private audits, yeah, no, I know who the devs are, but Um, I guess now they're more competent now, definitely. Like it's getting better in that perspective.
Then when?
Then I don't know, maybe when I started like 2 years ago, I think it's getting better overall. I think
Do you
like
think it's going to get worse with people vibe coding?
yeah, I mean it can get worse. Yeah, it can. I think like all studies that people have done have shown that like these tools have increased the number of bugs in the code.
What did you see some studies about this?
Yeah, there's a study. I think I actually published it. Like the article. I think I've mentioned it somewhere. There's been at least a study about this. That it, because like you just press tab or something and it writes the line of code. It's just so easy.
It's so bad. Do you think we'll get to a scenario where bug bounty hunters are the most valuable people on the planet because devs from Bangladesh will be vibe coding?
Yeah,
There'll be teenage devs vibe coding from Bangladesh, and then the audit firm vibe audits, and then the only one looking at the code is the bug bounty hunter. This is
yeah,
my
yeah.
prediction.
I don't know, man. I like to think that won't happen, but but
Dude, humans are lazy, man. I see it happening.
yeah, yeah. I mean, protocols try to cut as much cost as possible. So it's bound to happen.
That's true. How do you figure like, all right, so you wrap up an audit, this thing's locked down, it's secure, and then the company deploys it, and then they always tinker with it and they have to change something. And like they only have so much money and they always want to tinker with the protocol.
Yeah, yeah,
But then they'd have to get another audit. And the price of an audit, for people that don't know, can range from like 5 grand to 80 grand to more to 150, I've seen.
yeah,
So the prices are all over the place depending on the engagement time, the brand, blah, blah, blah. So if you do a little modification, most can't afford to pay for another audit. Like what should these protocol teams do to try to ensure security?
yeah. I think they um well, there is always the option of trying to find some uh but I don't think this option is well known, to be honest, because I've been in this place and I have never gotten any protocol reaching out to me. But you've got like junior independent auditors that are actually pretty good. And I think security wise, in terms of outcome versus price, I think you can get a very good deal with these people. But protocols don't do this. Like this, like they just aren't aware of this, which I think it would be a good fit, to be honest. But alternatively, I think maybe they can reach out to the last firm that audited them, because this firm could do a discount because they already
Mm,
have a lot of context on the code base, right?
that's a good point. I've gotten that request before, just like, oh, hey, can you just quickly? But that's also kind of a trap because they know you're not getting paid for it. You know you're not getting paid for it, and so they just kind of want your thumbs up, but you may not give it your all because it's like, oh, you don't know that it interacted with something else they didn't change, that you're not looking at because you're doing something else. So who
Yeah,
knows? Could go either
yeah,
way.
that's a trap. Yeah, it's a trap. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I try to avoid that as much as possible, but I mean, you gotta try to be as honest as possible here, and for the protocol, it's still the best deal they can get, probably. So,
What about for fuzzing? Do you like, is that a normal part of your audit process? Do you pull out the fuzzer on every engagement?
um, like when I try to find out if something will break, yeah, like if I have some intuition about something, I might try to set up a first test about that thing just to verify that it really happens or it doesn't happen. So it gives a little bit of extra confidence.
And what do you use typically? You just use built-in
Yeah,
Foundry
yeah, I
fuzzer?
just use Foundry. Yeah, if they're using Hardhat, I just I just set up Foundry and, and write the test.
No love for hard hat.
No, I just like when I started out, like Foundry was already becoming mainstream a lot, so I didn't get to pick up hard hat. So yeah, I guess I
Not
just
missing much.
yeah. I don't know. Like, how do you actually fuzz in hard hat? You have to set up your own random arguments, right?
I've never fuzzed in hard hat. I have no idea. I've only done fuzzing I used Echidna and the Foundry fuzzing, and then you need to get recon.xyz/riptide. No, but whatever fuzzing tool you use, I think they're all just, they're cool. Like, it's, if you find something that you couldn't find by manually plugging in something, like, that's just so cool that these kind of tools exist for us
Yeah,
to play with.
yeah. It should be part of every protocol's workflow. It just
It
doesn't make
should.
any. Yeah, it should. It should.
Yeah, no, true. Very cool.
It's so easy to set up. So there's no excuse for not implementing it in your tests.
A Foundry test, fuzzing, yes, very easy to set up, but more comprehensive kind of thing, like some of the other fuzzers, can be a bit of a pain,
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
experience.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Silence, Simao.
Yeah, I mean,
Tell you
I've
what's
never
up.
used any other fuzzer to be honest, but
I'm not a fuzzing king, man. I don't know. All right, so what else is going on, man? We almost made it to an hour here.
um,
Give me some alpha. What's happening over there?
yeah, like to be honest, like some real alpha. I think it's I've judged recently a contest on Sherlock, which was Babylon,
The
and
Bitcoin one?
yeah, exactly. And I've participated in other like other audits related to Cosmos, Go, even the newer languages like Move and stuff like this. Like they don't have nearly as many eyes as Solidity, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you really put in the time in these code bases, you can you can do really well because although this may not be always true, but on average, like the participation levels are so much lower than Solidity. It's pretty insane.
That's a good tip. And the trade-off for everyone is like, well, is this going to be around?
Exactly.
Look at Cairo. Where's that?
Yeah, exactly. And just yeah, like it's a trade-off, but I think it probably is still worth it.
Yeah, I would say pick something that like what you're saying, like pick one of them that you think might have some legs, and then be that dude. Be that dude that's the master of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, that could pay off pretty well.
yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right, you got anything else?
Um, let me see. I actually took one or two notes. Let me see if I can.
Go ahead, man.
Let me see.
And just for everyone's note, I gave him no guest gets any prep. I just invite him on and just drill him with some questions. So
um, yeah. I mean, I think like one common thing that people do is just giving up too early. Like even when I was starting out, there were other people with exactly the same background as me, but they just like they were demotivated because well this industry is mostly for the crazy people, I think. Like in terms of
yeah,
I think everyone that succeeds is basically a workaholic. You know.
yeah, you got to be on all the time.
Yeah, it's either go big or go home. I don't know how to explain it, but like if you see the leaderboard in audit contests, you'll know what I mean. Like you see top three getting like all the money, and then from top four below, they get like McDonald's salary.
And the competitive streak some of these guys have is incredible. Like yourself, like all these guys dominating contests. That takes dedication, and you need to be extremely competitive.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you need to have the mindset that okay, I'm going to find all the bugs that exist in the code base. Like,
It's crazy, man. I don't like contests because of a few reasons. Like, you have to work on this time. Like, here's your time that you're allotted.
yeah,
I know that, like, and I'm a competitive guy, but I know that like 50 people are going to look at this as well. And then I'm just like, oh man, maybe it's a mental thing. I'm like, ah, fuck.
yeah,
And
it
then I'm
is.
going to have to argue my findings, and then I have to look through the docs and just see like, oh, here's the fucking rules and the invariant, and bug hunting is just like, can you take the money or not? This is like, oh, you
Exactly.
gotta argue with the judge and this bullshit. I don't know. You
Yeah,
must really you must be really good at it to excel.
yeah. I mean, for starters, you really need to know the rules of the platform well. Like, if you don't know the rules, you begin at a disadvantage.
Hmm.
You're already starting from a worse point. So I think that's the first thing to know. And then the second thing is that, like, keep in mind that, so the way the rewards work is, if many people find the more people find it, the less the bug is worth, right? So if you have 10 bugs, if you find just one, right, and it's a unique finding, and there are other 9 bugs, if these 9 bugs all have like 50 duplicates or something, then you will take the whole pot.
Mm.
So it's not necessarily true that the more people look at it, the less you receive. You know?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the rules. It's just more shit I have to deal with. I just like looking at the code on my own terms, and if I get bored of it, jump to something else, and to each their own. I
Yeah,
think you're in your specialty, and I'm over in mine.
yeah, yeah. But you touch a good point, which is, if the bug is too obvious, it's not even worth it to report it.
Really?
Yeah, because like if it takes you half an hour to build the report for this bug and POC or whatever, but then you get paid 1 cent.
It's gonna be worth a McDonald's meal. Yeah.
Yeah, like why are you putting in the time?
I don't know. It's a weird job. It's a weird lifestyle. What do you tell
Yeah,
people you do? Like people that have no clue what crypto is?
yeah, it's it's very hard actually. And honestly, I just tell them I'm a software engineer or something. I don't even
Yeah,
go.
keep it simple.
I
Yeah.
don't even go that deep, because if I tell them I work in crypto, then they think I'm a scammer,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
and then I have to explain to them that I'm not a scammer, or or at least,
Are you do you speak Portuguese?
yeah, yeah,
Are you from Portugal?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I'm from
okay. Because
Portugal.
I moved to Italy and I'm from the US. And
Yeah,
so trying to explain to Italians in Italian what the hell I gave up on that. And no, I just work in internet security. And they're still like, huh, what is that? And I say, oh, smart work. I just do smart work. Oh, smart work. Oh, that means you work online. Okay.
yeah. It's something like that. It's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, crypto is still under this massive umbrella that it's all a scam, and it's
Yeah.
really not. But most of it is, if we're going to be honest. So yeah,
That's the gut check too. I get the same feedback anytime you mention to anybody that you're anywhere involved with. You just say the magic word blockchain,
yeah,
or God forbid Bitcoin or anything, and they think, "Oh, so you trade? Oh, so like that's all they think. They have no clue." And
yeah. What coin should I buy? This is the
ah,
answer I get.
it's really terrible. Given that I mean, I got into Bitcoin in '09, and I mean, it was launched what, '08 or something. I mean, it's been a while since this technology's been out, and still this is the public perception,
Yeah, yeah,
which every day is not helped by all the shit that goes on. And
yeah. Of course, like, you just look at the news, and it's a meme coin rug pull. Like, what
yeah,
do you expect?
but that wasn't happening a couple years ago. Like it was a different narrative. So
Yeah,
like, what's going to be the narrative this year and next year. It'll obviously move from meme coins to whatever the next thing is. I don't know. Hopefully it's more positive for our industry.
Yeah, yeah. Like meme coins are a massive trap, to be honest, because you get liquidity coming in, but you get like rug pulls coming out.
Yeah.
It's hard because you want the liquidity, but you don't want the rug pulls. So it's tough.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I see it. I look at it as more people enter the space than leave it. That's my overall
No, yeah, that's true.
thesis.
Yeah,
And I don't bet against the nerds. And the nerds are all here. They're building some crazy shit. So there's going to be ups and downs, and
yeah,
price will always affect everyone's sentiment. But you just got to hang on, and hopefully, if you're here, you're interested, and you'll stick around.
yeah. Like when I first got into crypto, like in blockchain, I really thought it was a scam. You know?
That's why you got in.
Exactly. That's what brought me in. No, but like because I just I was a pretty standard guy, at least here in Portugal. We finish high school, we try to get as much of a good grades as possible, we go to college, and it's very standard path, and
Humble student.
yeah, like blockchain is nothing like that. Like, it's not common at all,
Mm.
and it's tied to scams, unfortunately. So I'm like really doing research. Oh, what is this ThreeSigma firm? And then I found some actual scam with a similar name. But yeah, no. But in the end, the guys were pretty cool. So
Dude, I think that's a very high chance that happens for every crypto project. Is you just type the domain in wrong, and you're guaranteed to get some drainer or some fucking scam website.
yeah, there's so much phishing going on, even on like Coinbase and stuff like this. Like so much phishing stuff going on. It's crazy.
It's incredible. Yeah, I don't know. Come up with some solution. Well, cool, man. Well, hey, thank you very much for coming on the pod. It was a
Thank you so much.
pleasure to have you on here, sir.
Yeah,
Um,
likewise.
I'm going to give a shout out here. So we have a deal with ImmuneFi. If you want to list your project for an audit, Tackathon, anything, mention Riptide, and they'll hook you up. And also join the Discord, Bounty Hunters Discord. It's awesome. And subscribe to the Substack for some alpha. All right. We will see you next time on the blockchain.